Hello everyone and welcome back to Triple Gaming. And before we get started with today's Jurassic World Evolution 2 review, please don't forget to like and comment, and if you are new here, please subscribe for more content from all of us here at Triple Gaming. Now with the usual YouTuber stuff out of the way, let's get down to business. Hello everyone, this is just a quick edit to this particular video which is being re-uploaded today. I just wanted to make it very clear because I think yesterday when I first posted the video, I think people were unclear in regards to some of the criticisms that I was making. This review was scripted and it was recorded and everything prior to the update. I haven't actually played the update yet. I haven't seen any of the new, I haven't played with the new stuff. I haven't seen any of it. I haven't brought the DLC and I'm not entirely sure if I will or not at this point. But I just want to make it very clear as a quick disclaimer, I haven't played the game since the update. This review was pre-update and it was a review supposed to be based on day one, the initial experience of the release. So some of the problems I'm going to be mentioning are probably going to have been solved by now, so please bear that in mind as you go through the review. And I would ask that you do watch the whole thing before you say anything in the comment section, simply because I think too often it's too easy to it's too easy to very quickly come up with a rash opinion on what someone is saying without taking the entire review into account. So I would ask that you watch the whole thing through first, and then if you do disagree with anything I have to say, I'd love to hear why. Please bear in mind this is a day one review recorded prior to the update. Right, let's get the video going. With Jurassic World Evolution 2 having been out nearly a month now, and with the first paid DLC news coming, I think it's about time that I put my thoughts down on what I think of the game and get some sort of review done. I have, however, been avoiding this, and for good reason. My initial review of Jurassic World Evolution 1 got so much hatred on the forums from the fanboys that I wondered if doing a review was really such a good idea. But with the DLC coming, I really don't think I can put it off anymore. Just so everyone is clear, I'll be writing this review from having played the game for about 60 hours, so roughly 1 hour for every quid that I spent on the game. I've completed all but one of the Chaos Theory modes, finished all of the campaign, and did challenge modes on all but one map. So I'm coming into this review with pretty good knowledge. I've also written a script, but I'll probably go off it at times as well because there's a lot really to discuss, and rather than having a massive 5 video long review like the first game had, I just want this one to be a bit shorter. My short opinion on this game can be best summed up by Ian Malcolm's line, "You're not making the same mistakes, you're making entirely new one." But let's start with the positives. The first thing that's clear is that the new UI is a big step up from the first game. Everything is a heck of a lot clearer now and everything just looks neater, and it's not the only thing that's gone through a big visual change. The new biomes are also incredible, with each environment a big step up from those horrible lime green tropical islands we all got used to from the first game. Woo! Snow! Graphically, the game does look stunning. And at first glance the game is a big step up visually from the first game. However, when it comes to the graphics, we will be returning to this when it comes to the problem of bugs. Now, like many, my first time seeing this game in action was the campaign. So let's look at the game modes. Jurassic World Evolution 2 comes with 4 game modes. The tutorial, the campaign, the Chaos Theory mode, the challenge mode, and the sandbox. The first thing to say is that I love the little introductory cutscenes that we have for many of these modes, with the voiceovers by Ian Malcolm. It certainly puts you in the mood straight away. I began my Jurassic World Evolution 2 playtime with the campaign. Now, prior to the game's release, we were told that the campaign had a lot of attention, that it was a unique and engaging narrative. Yeah, no, sorry, that's pure bull. I'm afraid. The campaign is laughable. There really is no better way of saying it. The idea that this campaign is a carefully crafted and unique narrative is sheer hubris, to say the least. There is very little, if any, narrative here. Planet Zoo's campaign felt like it had more of a story, and had more character, and had more likeable characters as well. The idea is that you, working for the Department of Fish and Wildlife, are looking after, recapturing, re-imprisoning the dinosaurs again. We are led to believe that a handful of dinosaurs escaping from one mansion has caused a countrywide disaster, without any real explanation as to how this has occurred. And as such, we have to go around basically putting them all in fences again. There is nothing different here to the normal gameplay. Yes, you won't be making the dinosaurs yourself, but in every other way the campaign is no different to building parks in any other mode. The cringy dialogue between Claire and Owen doesn't help, the lines are terrible and the acting is worse. The embarrassing tete-a-tete between them both is just not funny, and none of the humour really works.
Tells me there are some candidates to recruit. Scientists. Hopefully you could find one as rough and tumble as I am.
You there? I think you're still muted.
A scientist.
Sorry. Good idea. What have we got to lose? You know, except maybe a new recruit.
The reintroduction of Dua working for the CIA also brings up a few questions, like how a genetics expert who worked under WOOO is somehow cleared to work for the CIA. But these are all small problems compared to the biggest issue with the campaign. It's short. In fact, let me just replay for you guys what I thought when the campaign ended for me on stream. What? Are you joking me? What in the fresh hell was that? That... yeah, no. No, I'm sorry. That is crap. That is not... That's ridiculous. What, 4 hours? 4 hours of campaign? What did they say to us in... What did they say to us when we were, you know, when we first got news about this? A compelling narrative? There's no compelling narrative in that whatsoever.
No, it's...
Yeah, very much more of a tutorial than a campaign. If they're hiding stuff because of Dominion, then after Dominion, there better be a heck of a lot more, because that, if that is where the campaign is going to go, and if there's only going to be maybe one more mission in campaign, then that is utter bullshit. Complete and utter bullshit. A compelling narrative, my fucking arse. Ridiculous! It's short. Shorter than Richard Hammond is. The campaign can probably be speedrun in about 2 hours if you're really going for it. And in terms of sandbox unlocks, more on this later, it only unlocks around 30% of the content, I would guess. It really is an insult. I hope that we get a more expansive campaign after Dominion releases, but I'm not holding my breath. So what about the Chaos Theory modes? Well, on the face of it, it's a good idea. Considering how much of a success the Return to Jurassic Park DLC was for the first game, it makes sense that something like this would be present in this game. But again, with so much of Jurassic World Evolution 2, it's 2 steps forward and 2 steps backwards off the cliff. 3 of the Chaos Theory modes have you just building parks with no real unique touch or elements, save for the San Diego Amphitheater, which is probably one of my favourites. The other 2 just have you mess around wasting your time. The Jurassic Park 3 Chaos Theory mode, which was over in 20 minutes, where you just tranquilize every dinosaur and then move it, is frankly insulting. None of the Chaos Theory modes have any imagination put into them whatsoever. They're bland, dull, and boring. A lot of the characters fail to return too, which sort of destroys the point of having these modes here. If I'm going to build Jurassic Park San Diego, I want to build it with Ludlow, Tembo, and Harding, and all the rest. If you're going to lean on our nostalgia for the films, do it properly. But no, we have bland, unimaginative ideas. The Return to Jurassic Park DLC showed more creativity than any of these Chaos Theory modes, and it's a massive shame, because there is a lot of potential here for alternative history storylining. However, from the negatives actually comes a positive mode. Challenge mode, oddly enough. Now, for those who saw my Jurassic World Evolution 1 review, and for those who know anything about me, they'll probably have all fallen over with having had a heart attack with me saying that actually challenge mode in this game is actually my favourite mode. I was a big fan of saying that the challenge mode in Jurassic World Evolution 1 could go and suck the wrong end of a shotgun. Challenge mode. In Jurassic World Evolution 2, it's actually really quite good. Difficulty has been rebalanced, and the medium difficulty on challenge modes basically feels like a normal Jurassic World Evolution 1 campaign. You unlock 75% of the content for doing it in that mode, so it's not like you're missing out on a huge amount. Hard mode is still very ridiculous, but I appreciate the rebalancing that has mostly gone on here. I also have to say that most of the challenge maps are glorious in design, apart from that one map. and it knows what it did or has done. And a lot of them offer very nice vistas for your parks. I do like the idea that certain challenge modes have unique requirements, although I think some of them could have been a little more substantial. It's definitely a step in the right direction, which is good, because it is unfortunately challenge mode which you will have to play to unlock most of the content for Sandbox. Like the first game, most dinosaurs, buildings and other content will be unlocked through playing other modes, primarily the challenge modes. Sandbox is yet again been put in a difficult place. Frontier has ignored what makes its other games brilliant, the freedom to design and build from the start, and again seals a good Sandbox experience behind the challenge mode unlocks. How can they again completely misstep here? They did it with the first game, and we all pointed out that they had made Sandbox worse, and they've done it again. That being said, the fact Sandbox does have mixed eras as an option for PC players is a good change. It's just a shame it's not standard for everyone on other platforms. It's also a shame that Sandbox mode itself is broken because of a number of annoying gameplay features, bugs, and other problems. So let's look at the gameplay, shall we? Gameplay wise, you'll see a few new things here if you have played Jurassic World Evolution 1 quite a lot. Let's start with the basics. You build your park and you must manage the park to get your rating up. That's the basics of the gameplay boiled down. You hunt for fossils, brew up dinosaurs and release them into enclosures. You build amenities for your guests to keep them happy and watch the money trickle in. So what actually has changed? Well, the new scientist system was a much touted new change in the run-up to the game's release. The idea looks great on paper. Give us park managers control over our staff, with each individual having their own little perks or nerfs that may help or hinder your park. But in reality, it doesn't actually work that well. The problem is the system is as wide as an ocean but as deep as a puddle. There's not very much going on here. The staff are one-dimensional. Scientists are used for everything from digging up dinosaurs to capturing dinosaurs to healing dinosaurs to brewing them up in a genetics lab. Yes, you may find some higher values in some skills than others, but in general the system is way too simplistic. In fact, the system's main use seems to be to slow down the gameplay and the grind. It takes longer to do nearly everything in this game since you have to have the scientists to do it. Everything takes more time, whether it's producing a dinosaur or doing an expedition. It's slow, and the scientist system is the key reason for it, as well as the fact that for some reason now you can only ever do one expedition at a time. It's gone are having multiple teams where you can do 3 expeditions at once. And for some reason, they force you to use the same scientist system in Sandbox mode. Why is that even a thing? Why would you limit us in that way to this preposterous and stupid system? If I was being a cynical bastard, and of course I am, I would say it's because they want to pad the runtime of the game out, because otherwise it's a lot shorter than it already is. Another problem occurs with the new paleo-veterinary system and the new ranger patrol system. Let's start with the patrols. The idea is that you can stick down a post in your paddock and your rangers can be sent to it to determine if the dinosaurs are happy or not. Vets can be sent in the same way to check the health of the animals. The problem is, the AI for these units is totally useless. A number of times my rangers would get stuck or simply refuse to investigate the animals in the enclosure. Vet AI is also so bad that it refuses to fix a problem that it can if it detects one. You have to manually tell it to fix the problem. The paleo-veterinary system also suffers from the same scientist systems. The number of times I have had injured dinosaurs dying of organ failure left sitting outside on the pad outside the vet building waiting to be sprayed with magic juice until a scientist was available is countless. There have been some improvements, however. It's not all bad. The ranger station and ACU stations are essentially combined now, so you don't have to waste space building both. In fact, a lot of buildings have been rescaled, and everything just fits nicer together. This is most noticeable with the amenity and the attraction buildings, which all seem to be a lot easier to place down and fit. On the subject of the amenities, the new personalization system for the amenity buildings is a great feature, and I hope that we see this feature expanded upon, perhaps to other buildings, or expanded upon in terms of the number of parts we get to use. Another good gameplay change is that your star rating is now entirely driven by the money you make, and I vastly prefer this method to the first game. No more rating being stuck at 4.8 stars because there isn't room for another hotel, or because your guests can't be asked to walk slightly further than needed. In terms of the basics of gameplay, I would say that Jurassic World Evolution 2 has improved a lot, but of course, this game is nothing without the creatures in it. On the subject of the dinosaurs, and I do mean the dinosaurs at this point in time, they're mostly a triumph. The new models and textures do on the whole bring them back to life with a very distinct look. While the range of species is not much larger than Jurassic World Evolution 1, they've been brought back in greater detail and greater care. It's clear some work has been put into the animations this time. A lot of the social and idle animations that the dinosaurs have do bring a smile to my face when they work, and that's the problem. There's still a lot of issues with the dinosaurs. I still haven't seen the social animation between the two T-Rex work because they just phase into each other. Try moving an Apatosaurus by a helicopter and you'll see it turn into a total mess. There are also a lot of janky looking animations. Ah, that was strange. I think the dinosaur AI just stopped. For a minute there. Moonwalking dinosaurs, for example, an issue we saw in the beta, still occurs. And to paraphrase a friend of mine, how can you see something like that happening and just allow it to be in the game without fixing it? I hope that in terms of the quality of the animations, we get some refinements and more unique ones. The genetic system is also a tale of two halves. On the one side, I like that modifications have multiple levels now, so you can heavily focus on social modification, for example. However, one thing that doesn't work is the new skin system. What the hell is the point of a preview box when it very rarely ever matches what you create? It's entirely pointless. It's also a shame that the patterns you can apply don't seem to vary much. It's more like picking a secondary colour than a pattern. It's a disaster. It's pointless. The number of times I've produced a dinosaur which will apparently have purple in its skin, and there's no purple in it anywhere, it's just stupid. It's worse than Jurassic World Evolution 1's skin system. I'm sorry to say it, but it is. On the whole, however, the dinosaurs are a triumph. However, Jurassic World Evolution 2 also brought aquatics and pterosaurs to the game in a more substantial way than other games of this genre. So let's have a look at those. The pterosaurs now inhabit the new aviary structure, and unlike the first game, the aviary is a modular unit which can be expanded at will. Firstly, the design of the aviary is again really nice, and I love the simplicity of which you can expand or shrink the space. You can also design the inside like your paddocks, which is a nice touch, although there's no pterosaur only additions such as perches or different sorts of alternative feeders. All pterosaurs eat fish alone. The pterosaurs themselves are a mixed bag. Some of them, like Tropicanthus and Geostambergia, look fantastic. Some, like the Cerodactylus and Marodactylus, are a bit forgettable. The worst pterosaur, however, is easily the Pteranodon, which looks like its head has been snapped in half. I'm sorry, but a full crested Pteranodon would look much more dramatic and a lot more impressive. What is also not impressive is the sheer amount of bugs these guys have. Pterosaurs will phase through your aviary walls and escape. Pterosaurs will get stuck in repetitive looping animations until they starve to death, or if they run out of stamina, will also get stuck in animation and starve to death. Your rangers will be unable to heal them or scan them because fuck you, that's why. The implementation of the aviaries is so screwed up, I would rather it had come out as a DLC later down the line when it wasn't so broken. The lagoons, like the aviaries, are a mixed bag. Unlike the aviaries, all of the lagoon animals are amazing. I love them all. Even the somewhat rough and monster looking Liopleurodon. Again, the lagoon system is simple to use and it works well. However, there are problems here too. Let's start with the first issue. Expense. Lagoons are expensive to research and getting the creatures is monumentally costly. If you want to have a mosasaur in your park, expect to fork out nearly 8 million quid in gameplay, and I've bankrupted 2 parks just trying to get it unlocked. Researching the lagoon viewing gallery is alone equally as costly in terms of scientists and money. Then there are the bugs. Lagoon animals will escape and get stuck in the ground, or again your rangers will refuse to help them, or the fish feeders you place to feed them will either stop working, or, this is a fun one, the fish they make will escape all over your park, so you'll just be randomly putting down buildings and you'll see floating tuna everywhere. The lagoons themselves are also very bland. The viewing galleries are a bit too small and they don't move up and down of their own accord like they would realistically do, so everything feels a bit stationary. Then there's the lagoons inside, which can't be designed in any way, unlike the aviary, and it doesn't even have lighting, so in the dark you'll never really be able to see anything. But there's an even bigger issue, and it's with the animals themselves. It's a shame to say it, but the lagoon animals are boring. They remind me very much of day 1 dinosaurs in Jurassic World Evolution 1. They don't do anything but wander about and eat. They don't have unique animations really of any sort. There's no social animations, no idle animations. There's so much that could be done with the lagoons, and I hope that they do bring changes. In fact, I'll be making a video about some changes I think could be made to the lagoons and lagoon animals in the next week or so. Are there any other positives or negatives that we can talk about? Well, on the positive side, it is nice to have good decorations at last. We do have things we can place down to make our park stand out a little more. But we could do with a lot more than what we've already got. And I'm sorry, but there's no excuse for getting rid of placeable trees. I mean, why would you do that? You brought the placeable trees into Jurassic World Evolution 1 when we wanted more decorations, and then you removed them for Jurassic World Evolution 2. That makes no sense. The sheer amount of bugs in the game as well is also something that's a bit of a problem. PlayStation 4 owners are still apparently having a lot of problems getting this game even to run, and in the gameplay I've experienced, there are still huge problems with bugs. Random frame rate loss is a common occurrence. If you switch from one map to another map, loading into it, you'll get massive frame rate loss for no reason whatsoever. There are still, like I say, a lot of problems with the dinosaurs and other creatures phasing in and out of buildings, or getting stuck in the ground, or their animation loops getting stuck, or Ranger AI messing around. It's still full of bugs. Sandbox mode is hampered at the moment by the fact you can't turn the scientist system off, or you can't turn dinosaur combat off, so you can't really have a true sandbox experience. These are all things that can be fixed and patched, I accept. And going off script here, I think Jurassic World Evolution 2 is certainly not as bad as Jurassic World Evolution 1 was on day 1. I think there's a lot of positive changes that have gone on here, and I think it's very easy to see this game as a good starting point, a good framework for building further on. The problem I have is that we paid, again, full price, 60 quid for the game, and it's riddled with problems still. Some of them are exactly the same problems that Jurassic World Evolution 1 had, and some of them are things that Jurassic World Evolution 1 did better than they did in Jurassic World Evolution 2. It doesn't make that much sense to me. I don't understand how they've screwed it up in completely new ways, but it is a good framework, and there's a lot of potential here. I think a lot more potential with Jurassic World Evolution 2 than with Jurassic World Evolution 1. They just have to actually apply themselves to listening to the community and actually improving the game in the direction that we want it to be going down in. Now, I wrote all of the review and everything before the DLC news came out, so I think I want to just quickly touch on that at the end of this quick review. New animals I'm not that bothered with, frankly. I think the roster is full of animals already. I think it's impossible to do an all-species park because there's just not enough space for them all. So we don't really need new animals. The free update that they're offering with alterations to sandbox mode, with new building variety, with new options for sandbox, it's all good stuff. My problem is that this is all stuff that should have been there to start with. We're patching in the ability for you to build sandbox parks on the campaign maps. Why wasn't that there to start with? Why is that being patched in? We're giving you the option to build using the Department of Fish and Wildlife era campaign buildings. Why wasn't that in there from the start of the game? We've created Jurassic Park style lagoons and aviaries for your park. Well, you gave us mixed era building, why weren't they there to start with? All of the things they're adding, it feels like they're things that should have been there to begin with in a 60 quid release of the game. I can't help but thinking, we're just going to get in the DLCs and in the update more basically content that should have been there from day one that we're going to be expected to either pay for or wait for. It's not acceptable for us to be having to wait for a lot of these bug fixes and a lot of these improvements to Sandbox just so that they can launch at the same time a paid for DLC next to it. Still got a lot of problems. You know, PlayStation 4 owners can't really play it right now, and you're then expecting people to fork over more money a month later for it just strikes me as some really tactless marketing and some really tactless attempts to get cash out because the game has underperformed. They've admitted it, that the game has not performed as well as they would have liked, and this just feels like an exercise in trying to squeeze more money out of the few people that have actually brought the game. And it strikes me as the actions of a company like EA or Ubisoft. It's not the sort of thing I would expect from Frontier. That's just my opinion on it. You guys might have a different view. To bring this back to the whole point of the review, what's my opinion on the game? It's a good framework, but there's a lot more that needs to be done here. It's certainly full of problems still, like Jurassic World Evolution 1 was. It's certainly not a bad game, and I don't give game ratings out of 10 because I don't really think you can numerically put a value on whether a game is good or bad. You know, I said that Jurassic World Evolution 1 was a game that could and should have been better. Jurassic World Evolution 2 is a game that can become a really great game, but it needs the work, the time, the effort put into it. Otherwise, it's never going to live up to the possible potential that it has within its systems. But before this review ends up going on longer than it already has, what do you guys think? Let me know down in the comments below, and keep a lookout for my videos in the next couple of weeks where I'll be coming up with some different and new ideas for how to fix the problems in Jurassic World Evolution 2. But for the time being, I'll see you in the next video, and bye bye.